This review is something unique for me, due to games be different from most games that I used to play. For some context, let me tell you some background info. As a kid who grew up in the mid-90s and early 2000s, I grew up with a PlayStation, but I also have the luck to play some older games from the Mega Drive with Sonic the Hedgehog, and also my cousin have the Super Nintendo with Super Mario Land, Street Fighter 2, and one game for our favorite laughing jockey Nubnut, Spider-Man Maximum Carnage. Yeah, I play some good games and one mediocre games. Now, you must be wondering why I'm talking about old games and what does it have to do with the game? Well, it's because this game is a custom NES game. The devs have made the game functional for the original hardware. Some games are homebrew. Take an example of Halo for Atari 2600. Everybody knows Halo is for Microsoft Xbox, or another one for our favorite foul-mouthed drunk-ass gamer of all time, AVGN Skill Boxing. So far, I'll show you for the Atari 2600, but there are other custom-made games for the oldest consoles. So, let's talk about the game itself. Project Blue is a NES game made by two developers who both love classic NES games. This was one of the games that I backed when it was on Kickstarters. After I received the game and play it, is it worth the purchase? After completing it, I can say that it's a pretty good to play from the start to the end. I won't lie, I played some NES game on the emulator, and from my experience, I was quite worried if these games had implemented the critical sin of most classic platformers, the knockback bullshit. For context, for anyone that have never played old platformers, the NES game have a reputation of having knockback after you get hit by the enemies. Depending on the level and the situation you're in, you can easily fall to the pit. Sadly, you can't move your character to avoid that, and you lose one of your life. Make a wrong jump and you still have a full health bar? Doesn't matter, you lose a life anyway. So yes, it is a pain in the ass, and I'm glad that this practice is gone in most modern platforms, because it doesn't need to add a crappy system to make a game already hard. That is an example of a bad game design, cause you don't learn what you did wrong. You don't get better at it. It's really an enjoyable and painful experience. I won't blame you if you never finished those NES game or other games of that era. For example of Ninja Gaiden or Shadow Warriors for us in the European. It is the perfect example of why this is a terrible idea, and thank God this game doesn't have it, since it is already challenging enough to test your skills. Project Blue has 3 difficulty: normal, hard and brutal. I'm going to explain later, so let's jump about the gameplay and the story. So the game, as I already mentioned earlier, is a platformer. As many other games of the NES era, it's pretty close to the classic Mega Man games, and the difference is Project Blue is a very linear game, meaning you don't have multiple power-ups depending the situation in the game, or you don't choose the level you want to go. But there's one mechanic in the game that Mega Man doesn't have it. It's the long jump. Blue, our hero, when he walks, he gains momentums. When he jumps, he can jump for a longer distance. And it's necessary for some platforming in the later section. This is the only difference between these two games. So let's jump into the story. You play as Blue, who managed to escape an experiment tube, and now it's on the run. That's it. Okay, there is more story instead of the shortcut scene. I do have to give them credit since they managed to recreate how NES does storytelling. Another quick explanation for the youngest audience and for the older ones that forgot the old times. In the early days of 8-bit era and before that even, most games didn't have cutscenes, but some games did have them. Once again, Ninja Gaiden is another example of cutscenes in NES games. For the other games, the stories are told in the instruction manual, which holds the lore of the games, and it's also explained how the control works without being bothered by unnecessary tutorials. And it also contains enemies info, items you can find in the games, hazards in the levels, and bosses. You can go into fight with some background information about them. Also, I like there's a detail that most people may not see, but some of the page have a bit of transparency of the previous page, giving a feeling of an old manual, which is kinda neat detail. So that's how stories are explaining in the older games. So what's the story for Project Blue, you may ask? You play as Blue, a street urchin for Neo Hong Kong, who suddenly was kidnapped. It became the latest experiment for the nefarious Omnicorp, who are responsible for the decline of youth in Neo Hong Kong. But everything is fine in their world. I wonder what's their PR department have to deal with that during an investor call. Welcome, value investors. We at Omnicorp are grateful for your investment in our corporation. We are aware of the decline of youth in our precious city of Hong Kong, but the young blood is 100% worth it as an experiment to our new project. Do not worry, we do not steal your children and use them as experiments. We are not that kind of a monster to reach that point yet. But don't worry, have some Omni Crisp cereal for your kids, and don't forget to get your Omnibots for extra security. And no, we don't use human face for the robots. These rumors are false and misleading, and they damage the image of our company. Everything is okay. What could possibly go wrong? Ah, crap. Don't worry, it's nothing. Don't forget everything is a-okay. It's probably nothing. Shit. Somebody's going to lose a brain for this mess. That's pretty much how PR works in the company anyway. There's 4 levels in this game. You start at the Theta Laboratory, then the Death Zones, the obligatory cliché sewer level, the Underground, and the final showdown at the Omnicorp HQ. With each level, you are going to fight one of the Omnicorp executive, also known as
Mighty Think Tank!
A bunch of brainiacs that remind me of that other think tank from our well-known post-apocalypse games. I just don't remember the name of it. Was it Westland? No, Metro 2033? No, it can't be that one since setting is Russian. Who cares anyway? But before you are going to deal with one of the think tanks, first you have to deal with their intern first. I will say, those 4 interns are the most lucky ones. At least they don't have to fetch coffee for their boss, and live forever too. But the boss fight in this game is a bit different. As you see, each of the think tanks are different. The doctor and the executive have extra firepower in their sides. The matriarch and the senator rely on difficult terrains. I won't lie, the doctor and the senator both are pretty much easy, and it's even possible to do a no-hit runs on your first run if you know what you're doing. The matriarch was quite a painful to deal with her, until I found out an exploit to beat her. As for the executive, motherfucking asshole! This boss is the hardest of all. Not too surprising since he is the final boss of the game, but god damn it is a nightmare to deal with. Fuck! Okay, I need a second. No. Nah. Oh yes, that's the one. crazy brainiac asshole.
Yes! Yes!
Hell yeah! One tough NES final boss? A corporation going downhill without the operation's brain. Saving Neo Hong Kong youths and happy ending to our hero. Everything ends well and no more brains to deal with it. Overall, Project Blue is a blast to play, and not only that, the difficulty of the game can be raised. If you play the game on normal and play on the other two difficulty, you will notice some changes. Not only the increase of enemy and environment hazards, there's also some layers of the maps are changes depending on which difficulty you are playing. So there is some replay value. Not only that, they kindly had a level editor to the game. I have some mixed feeling about that. Why? Well, we have to look at another game. No, not Ninja Gaiden. This time it's MacPixel. Some of you may remember to see this game played by some YouTubers around the mid 2000s or was it early 2010s? Anyway, this game have level editor, but sadly I never found a way to play other people's levels, which it was before Steam introduced the workshop. Sadly, this game died off quickly. Even though this game is a good game, this is my issue with it. I want to play other people's levels. I know they have a Discord server, and I hope they could promote people's levels from who owns a copy of the game. It will be a benefit for the game's longevity, and there's also a gender swap. If you like to play as a female blue, you can also have that. Unnecessary in my opinion, but I need extra. Overall, I think that Project Blue is quite a great NES game to add to your collection for any NES fans, platform lovers, or someone who would love to have a challenge. You can still buy this game on their website. As the writing of this review, the devs are working on a new game called Project Violet. Maybe it's a sequel to Project Blue, or in the world of Project Blue. We have to wait. I'll be quite happy to back them up once again if they do a second Kickstarter project. And yes, you can still buy a digital or a legit NES cartridge, which I'll leave the link of the descriptions. This is Dark Volteer signing off, and don't forget to sub, comment and like it, or else the brainers are going to take your brain.